we are saying yesterday, shaping the mind beautifies the body. Unless one has cultivated the mind with the method of Satipatthana successfully, the mind will not become properly tamed and cultured. Of course, with reflection one can cultivate some kind of knowledge in its own right, as was described, the Pati Sankhana Bala. One can have the power of reflection. By reflection, one can, of course, improve the mind. But unless one has done satisfactorily to cultivate the mind and insight to the satisfactory stage, the mind will not be properly tamed or regulated. If the mind is not properly cultured, then the body also will not be cultivated, nor will the speech, the manner of speech be. So, to improve the mind, one needs the states which decorate the mind, as we discussed yesterday. These things, cetasikas, mind states or mental states or mental concomitants, or these states which accompany the mind all the time. Only when these beautiful mental states enter the stream of consciousness will the mind becomes beautiful, leading to the cultivation of physical behaviors, so that they become pure, blameless and beautiful. So, as the same thing goes with the speech. The manner of speech will also become pure, blameless and beautiful. Therefore, it is obvious that mind is the main. Cultivation of the mind is the main. As it said, Atta Devosati Citta. Here, Atta is taken as the mind, not in another sense or senses, which sometimes you translate or you render. Here, Atta is rendered as the mind, as is given in the text. When we combine Atta and Samapaniti, it becomes Atta Samapaniti, cultivating the mind in the right way, or right self-cultivation, or right self-regulation, so that it becomes skillful and pure. So, in order to cultivate or regulate one's mind, we need to know the method. Hence, here comes another partner, namely the Sadhamma Savana, listening to the sublime Dhamma. In short, it is learning. This means it's a kind of learning how to cultivate the mind. So then you'll be said to be cultivating or practicing the Atta Samapaniti, so that when they do combine together, they will cause the virtue. The two things will become essential in making you a virtuous person. Yeah. To put it down to practice, when we are watching the abdomen or during sitting meditation and noting rising, falling as they take place, with precision, energetically, sustaining mindfulness and deepening the concentration at that moment, how valuable will be your state of mind. You are taking an aim at an object, so as not to indulge in Mecca Videka, wrong thoughts or wrongful thoughts, such as thoughts of sensual pleasures. And as regards hate-inducing objects or undesirable objects, thoughts about ill will, Vyavada Videka, and thoughts of harming others, Vihimsa Videka. These three kinds of wrongful thoughts, Meja Videka, will not arise in your stream of consciousness at that very moment. Now you are taking a right aim as every time the object arises, so the noting mind reaches the object, and you are exerting energy so that noting mind is able to grasp the object. And as you are able to note, sustaining mindfulness at one moment, at every moment of mindfulness, the mind falls calm and collected on the object of attention. Then, talking about this may take a long time rather than actual happening. The mind will fall, as soon as you note, there will be concentration. So quick will it be that it takes more time to talk about it. Now, as much as one takes an aim at the object, this again is called Videka. Because if you are aiming rightly, there will be no wrong thoughts. And instead of the wrongful thoughts, you have right thoughts, rightful thoughts. And with the application, exertion of energy, the defilements are not accepted. They are said to be abandoned, overcome. Not accepted or abandoned or overcome by not giving a chance to these defilements to arise in the stream of consciousness. This is the function of energy, Viriya. As I said, Viriya expels, repels evil things. Now, thus opening the door to skillful things to rise in the stream of consciousness, and not giving a chance for the unskillful things to arise. This is its function, so that the mind becomes pure. And as you are able to sustain mindfulness, you're deepening concentration, just imagine at that moment the sensual thoughts have no chance to arise in your mind, and sensual thoughts such as wishing to see pleasant, desirable, beautiful things, hear pleasant, desirable, beautiful things, and so on. And as regards undesirable things, no ill will, no hatred, no dissatisfaction, no disappointment. How nice it is. Your mind is not pursuing or following greedy things, greediness. Your mind is not following hate, ill will. So at that moment your mind is balanced between these two extremes. How unique. More unique is the application of hiri-ottappa, that is conscious, having conscience, clear conscience, and fear about losing mindfulness. You detest and fear loss of mindfulness, allowing kilesas to enter, and and disrupting your practice. You are conscious about that. How valuable is your practice. So even when you encounter things which can cause transgression by body and speech, you are abstaining from these actions, if not in practice, but through chetana, intentions or volition. And even you are abstaining from immoral deeds, dochita, physical kaya dochita, mental verbal dochita, and there will be no wrong livelihood, even if you are not actually doing it, you are avoiding, abstaining from these things by virtue of your intentions, good intentions, chirana, or volitional action. So even when you meet such events to cause transgression, you'll be able to abstain from such acts of transgression. And later with the cultivation of insight, knowing the mind and the body, discerning the mind and body, that this is the noting mind, this is the noted object, and their conditionality, and the old giving place to the new, and the nature of impermanence, things arising and passing away, things which are the conditioned things which are subject to the conditioned psychophysical phenomena, subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away, and they are unsatisfactory, and they are unmanageable, not self, uncontrollable. They arise at their will, not at your will. Such are the universal characteristics that you will come to understand. And this is cultivating knowledge. This is discriminating knowledge. At that time, mind becomes clear. The truth is not hidden from you. This is purification of the mind, so that it becomes blameless and graceful, cultivated. So just imagine when such things happen. So the mind will become, in this way, the mind will become beautiful, graceful, and decorated. And this will be known by every yogi who practices respectfully and carefully. There's no denial about this. You can experience with your own personal practice. At this stage, there's a difference between the animal and human mind, or animal and human mentality. The animal mentality, in the animal mentality there is much, or there are much envy, avarice, much lobha, dosa. Unless one has cultivated one's mind will never be developed. If one leaves the mind uncontrolled, uncultivated, leave it as it is, then one's mind will not be different from the animal mentality. Although one can be called human being, because it appears human being, but since the mind has not been controlled, cultivated, because the mind is not shaped, the mind is not properly cultivated, the mind would not properly be shaped and fashioned. Because the beautiful mental states, cetasikas, have not entered one's mind. One's mind mentality will not differ much from that of the animal. So one should practice in order to weaken and to overcome these things, so that one will not have the same mentality as animal, but instead one should possess a human mentality. By uplifting one's mind, cultivating the mind and insight, if once you are able to gain the kind of happiness which you don't want to part with, unrelinquishable happiness, by cultivating once your mind and insight, then because this kind of happiness that you gain from the practice of Dharma excels, is incomparable with the kind of happiness, pleasure that you can get from sense objects, sense of pleasures. incomparable. So, as for the worldly pleasures, sensual pleasures, they may be good, but they are deadly good, harmfully good. Harmful pleasures, deadly pleasures. And so this kind of Dhamma happiness is the real pleasure, real happiness. Then at that moment, just as when somebody has taken a very delicious or tasty food, one remembers one's dear friend. So too, when one has tasted this, the flavor of the Dhamma, that this is incomparable to sensual pleasures, then you remember your dear friend, your close friends. With whom should I share this Dhamma, this practice, or this knowledge? So you will look for a dear friend, and then share your knowledge with your friends, so that they can be happy just like yourself and be free from suffering. How nice it is. Beginning with a close friend, you will talk to them, share your knowledge, share your practice, and this is wishing for the welfare of others. You come to understand that you are wishing for the prosperity of welfare and prosperity of others. So by this you are cultivating metta, loving kindness. And knowing that if your friend is not able to undertake this practice, your friend will not be able to realize or to taste this flavor, then will not be able to escape from suffering, and he or she will be just sunk into mired in the sensual pleasures, and will only meet with danger or harm. And how pitiable he or she will be. In this way, you think about your dear close friends. So, unless you are able to cultivate your mind, you will not be able to escape from suffering. In this way, you are cultivating metta and karuna, the real metta and karuna, wishing for the welfare and prosperity of others, having compassionate feeling, compassion, sympathy in that you don't want others to suffer, instead escape from suffering. So, by practicing, such is the benefit of the practice of Satipatthana, wishing for the welfare and prosperity of others. What he has just presented to you is not from his own thinking or idea. At the time of the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana, great passing away, he called all the Sangha together around him, and it was quite interesting to know about this. Sanghas all assembled around him. At that, Buddha said about Satipatthana practice. First, he mentioned about the Bodhipakkhya Dhamma, the enlightenment factors. That is the practice of Satipatthana. They should first listen and study these enlightenment factors or practice of Bodhipakkhya Dhamma. Then they can initiate the work, that means practice. Start the practice. And just don't leave it in the middle. And don't just keep it as it is. We continue to do it repeatedly. And do it so as to develop your practice. Then you'll be practicing the three trainings, Sila Samadhi Panya. The Sadhamma, the sublime Dhamma, such as sublime Dhamma, and such as Sasana, the teachings, such as Buddha's culture, the Buddha's culture, the culture of the Buddha. Then, if you practice, if you study, initiate, and continue, develop the 3 trainings, Sila Samadhi Panya, then this sadhama or sadhana or Buddhist culture will endure for a long time. When you say endure for a long time means from one person the practice will spread to the rest of the society or the rest of the world. Only when there is the practitioner, the Buddha sadhana or the Dhamma will endure long. So if, just as already I said, if you are able to note effectively, just for one moment, 3 trainings are involved, namely Sila Seka, the morality training, Samadhi Seka, concentration training, and Panya Seka, wisdom training. All these 3 trainings, all these 3 things are involved at every moment of your mindfulness. If you practice Satipatthana, then this will involve the 3 trainings, sekas. In this way, the sadhama, the good Dhamma, the sublime Dhamma, and Buddha's sasana, the teaching, and Buddha's culture will endure for a long time. Only when there is a practitioner, there will be this sasana. Otherwise, not. And then if one has this practice the 3 trainings, so the 3 trainings are said to be overwhelming oneself, then this will be the cause for the endurance of sasana. And it will be for the welfare and prosperity of the many. And this will, because after one has practiced, one will exhort others. One will share this practice with others, so that others will be prosperous. Others will be able to gain this benefit of the practice. So this is a kind of investing, spiritual investment, spiritual capital for the prosperity of the many, with the practice of the 3 trainings to purify one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors. And this is such as what is known as Lokanukampaya. Loka means Loka, the world, or all human beings, all beings. And Anukampaya, emotions. Here positive emotion. Positive emotion is what is meant. Or quivering of the mind. The mind will quiver, or there will be the emotion of the mind in a positive way. When one has a chance to do so, because one is able to gain happiness, one will wish others also to gain the benefit of the practice. Because if one will think that like this, if others cannot practice, make a timely practice the Satipatthana, then one will be just wasting time in the sense of pleasures, kama gunas. They will be experiencing the happiness of sense of pleasures. They may realize that, but such pleasures are deadly, such pleasures are harmful, and they are sure to suffer. So in this way, after one has practiced, one wishes others not to suffer. Instead, one wishes to undertake the practice and experience or gain the flavor of the Dhamma. So in this way, this Anukampaya, Loka Anukampaya, Anu means a suitable way. Kampaya quivering of the mind or mental emotions. This is positive emotions, namely metta and karuna. Then you will be able to possess this genuine metta and karuna, not mixed or adulterated with tanha or soka. And you will have the positive emotions. Your mind will be moved, and such person will not stay quiet. He or she will gradually possess metta and karuna. With positive metta and karuna, he or she will wish for the welfare of others, for the prosperity of others, not wishing others to endure suffering, because one has this metta towards others. In this way, one will come to possess positive mentality, good relations, good human relations, such as the quality of patience, tolerance, forgiveness, painstaking. One will only be the loser, not the winner. And one will have sympathetic feeling. And in this way, one will have this compassionate feeling towards others, not wishing others to endure suffering. Instead, one will not look at one's own interest, one's own prosperity. One will forego one's chances of one's prosperity and welfare for the good of the many. This is compassionate feeling, helping others, such as doing for the prosperity and welfare of others, for the men and devas, wishing for the welfare of others. And in this way, we can bring about this new Dhamma generation, and who understand the Dhamma prosperity as much as they understand the Dhamma generation, understand Dhamma prosperity, will only wish to work for the Dhamma, for the welfare of others. And in this way, when this Dhamma generation grows up, we become Dhamma relatives. We will be related by Dhamma blood, by means of Dhamma blood, by way of Dhamma blood. Although geographically we are living in different parts of the world, we are related in a way by way of Dhamma blood, so that one will come to possess the basic human mentality and knowledge, so that there will be this metta. Metta will bind us. This metta like a glue. It will glue all of us together with metta, loving kindness, and help one another, even hug one another. This will lead to peace in the world. Therefore, this kind of Dhamma, this practice of the Dhamma, causes this generation of the Dhamma relatives, so that the world will be peaceful with the human mentality, human knowledge. And this will be quite understood by those who undertake this practice. And in order to get this answer to this problem, the practice of the two things, namely sarama savana, listening to the sublime talk, sublime Dhamma, and adasamapaniti, the right self-cultivation, right self-regulation. These two things are the causes for the Dhamma generation for bringing about this Dhamma generation and Dhamma relatives by way of Dhamma blood. In order to shape the mind so that the body also becomes properly fashioned, we practice these two things, sadhama, savana and antasamapaniti. And in this connection, the Buddha's admonishment to his son Rahula is very interesting. In the Rahula Vada Sutta, discourse on admonishment to Rahula. The Buddha asks, what use is the mirror? And Rahula replied, Pijavaganato Bandi, Vanavasa, for reflection. So the question also is very short and short to the point, and answer also is very short and to the point. It may not be easy to understand normally, but for those who have undertaken the practice, shaping the mind to shape the body, will understand it properly. Like as is given yesterday, when one goes in front of this mirror, our life-size mirror, and look at oneself through the mirror, then one can see whether one is properly shaped or fashioned. If not properly shaped or fashioned, one can mend one's ways, one can improve oneself, and if everything is in shaped, then one can proceed wherever one wishes to go. So, for those of you who have done this or practiced, will understand this. It is obvious that when one goes in front of the mirror, one looks at how one is dressed and one's hairdo and so on, whether they are good or not, presentable or not, and whether there are any flaws or not. So that's why Rahula answered that question posed by the Buddha. The mirror has the benefit or advantage of reflection. And the Buddha continued to Rahula, like one looks at the mirror for reflection, one should also look at one's own physical bodily actions, whether they are good or bad, skillful or not skillful. One should also reflect upon one's speech, the manner of speech, whether it is skillful or not, good or bad, and whether one's mind is good or bad. In this way, to analyze, to reflect upon one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors, by looking at the spiritual mirror or Panya mirror, to look whether one is skillful or not. If, just like when one goes in front of the mirror, if it's not good, then one mends one's ways. If it's good, one tries to improve it so that one becomes better and better. That is the benefit of the mirror. So too with the spiritual mirror. When one reflects upon oneself, one's behaviors, physical, verbal, mental behaviors, if it's not skillful, not good, then one can improve it. If it's good and skillful, one can make it better and better. That is the benefit of the reflection into the spiritual mirror. But as for us, men or women, they like to be beautiful physically, but they don't care very much about their mental beauty. They forget about looking into their spiritual mirror in order to correct their conduct. So, in order to cultivate their mind. Because one is not doing that, and one is wanting in this panya, wisdom or knowledge, one is suffering, beginning with the suffering, mental suffering. The root cause lies in the lack of this penya mirror or spirit reflection in the spiritual mirror. Everybody has shortcomings, weakness, flaws, but as for the essence, not everybody possesses the essence, essential things. Because one is not cultivating one's mind, one's body, speech are also not properly shaped. Hence, not everybody possesses the essence, the essential things. Because one does not go in front of the spiritual mirror, penya mirror, to look at one's own flaws, or one's own shortcomings, unskillful things. One cannot understand because there is no reflection, no spiritual reflection about oneself. One does not understand or know one's own shortcomings, flaws. So one thinks that because one does not go and look in the mirror, spiritual mirror, one thinks that one is flawless, blameless, flawless, pure, only seeing the flaws of others and not seeing one's own shortcomings, weakness. So the Buddha has admonished that one should not look at others' faults. Instead, one should look at oneself, and if there are faults, one should mend one's ways in a timely manner, so that the essence will take the place of flaws or shortcomings, faults. Essence in the sense of Sila Samadhi Penya, the three trainings. These are the essences, real essences. Once these essences enter you, or once you come to possess these essences, then you will come to possess another essence, that is Vimukti essence, the essence of freedom, essence of liberation, freedom from slave to unskillful things, to kilesas, and then realize peace. And to look at one's faults and mend one's ways can be done through the practice of Satipatthana, so that by shaping one's mind, one can fashion one's physical and verbal behaviors. Now, Buddha has, in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, one practices shaping of cultivating one's mind in order to shape and fashion one's body. With this, as much as you practice, you will be free from impurities which can cause you ugly, such as the greed, hatred, delusion. You will be free from that. As much as you are able to undertake that practice, then you will become satisfied with your life. And there are two things, the internal beauty and external beauty. People give more preference to, actually internal beauty is more important, and whereas people put more emphasis on external beauty instead of internal beauty, which is more important. If one understanding this, one should be able to cultivate one's mind in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, so that one can shape one's life and we're able to shape one's physical and verbal behaviors. That's why the Buddha has another epithet. Buddha has given this epithet, that is Alankara Karako Viya Buddha. Alankara Karako. The Buddha is, as the saying goes, by shaping the mind, one can shape the body. Buddha is a great decorator, beautifier and decorator by means of sadhama, the sublime dhamma. With the sublime dhamma, one can shape and beautify one's mind, and that is given by the Alankara Karako. the Buddha is like a great decorator. And again about Dhamma, the epithet is Alankaro via Dhammo. Now as for the sublime Dhamma, by listening to the sublime talk and cultivating one's mind, one can purify one's physical, verbal, mental behaviors. Then one will realize the benefit by listening to the sublime Dhamma. Just like when one is fashioning oneself or beautifying oneself, one needs these things that we discussed yesterday, all the paraphernalia, gadgets. So also in the purification, by mean purification of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, the three trainings, there are these gadgets and paraphernalia, such as Sada, faith, Sati, Hiri, Ottappa, Adoba, Adola, Atosa, Aloba. All these things are like your gadgets with which you improve or develop the mind. So as much as you are able to develop it, improve it, then you are bound to realize the benefit of the process of purification, such as Sadhama. And Sadhama is qualified or given as means or gadgets of decoration or purification. And again this epithet for the Sangha, likewise. Sangha means the disciples who listen and practice in accordance with the Buddha's teachings. Ariya, the noble ones, the noble individuals are also called Sangha, but in the Suttanta, in the discourses, whoever follows the teachings of the Buddha can be called this Sangha. Of course, if you are in the list of Bhikkhu as a practitioner, you can become a member of the Sangha. Sangha means a community, a group. Here is Savaka, disciple. The word disciple has been omitted. And Savaka means those who listens and follows the Buddha's teachings respectfully and carefully. In short, Buddha's disciples. To what extent? To the extent of listening carefully and undertaking the practice to overcome the impurities such as Raga, Dosa, Moha, in order to become a lofty, pure life, to lead a lofty, pure life, or to the stage of high purity. So only when you become Ariya, you become Savaka. Only when one becomes Ariya, one will listen or follow the Buddha's teachings and practice respectfully and carefully, walking the path of the Dhamma respectfully. And this is Savaka. The group of Savaka is the community of Sangha. They are just mentioned as taking the correct method and practice the three trainings of Sila, Samadhi, Panya. In this way, the Sangha are praised. And all days in the palace, there are these decorators, purifiers. There are many princes and princesses who have to appear beautiful, graceful. So there are special purifiers. I don't know what's the technical word for that, but purified decorators. Their job is to beautify these princes and princesses. So this is how this word has been used. as is applied in old days. Just like when the parents would like to see their children, sons and daughters, properly dressed and properly shaped and decorated with loving kindness and compassion, so that they're quite happy to watch them. So also the Sangha has been given this epithet that they are the community, they are the individuals who practices in accordance with the Buddha's teachings, walking the Dhamma path to purity. And you can imagine how graceful they will be. So when we think about it, we remember this four wheel of success. Check four wheels. To what extent are we fulfilled with these four wheels? We have to ask ourselves. Now, if you remember, the first one comes Patirupa Desavasa, coming and living in a suitable place. Suitable place where you can mend your ways, where you can shape your mind to shape your body. You have come to that place. Patirupa Desavasa. You are here. Now, by coming here, you are able to meet virtuous people who will guide you. Not just, it doesn't mean just him, but it means the Dhamma in general. That is Saburisa Visya. Depending on, reliance on the virtuous, the good people. Then, this coming to this place, suitable location, and having a chance to listen to the sublime Dhamma is not by chance. It's not without doing anything. It is a result of past good deeds. Because you have done good deeds in the past. That's why you have come to this suitable place and meet suitable virtuous people. Because in the past you must have encountered these opportunities to cultivate your life. Opportunity to perform good deeds, kusala. Opportunity to shape your mind, thus shape your body. Opportunity to perform pure, wholesome dana and other kusala such as sila and so on. So such good deeds of the past are known as Pupagata Punyata, having done good deeds in the past, which send you to the suitable place, Patirupa Desavasa, to meet suitable virtuous people, Saburisa Visya, have a chance to have these chances because of the past deeds. Now you are able to, you have a chance to shape your mind, to shape your body. And not only that, not only listening to the talks, but you have the chance to undertake the practice, to really put it on to practice. And you have this result of this as a form of result must have the cause which lies in the past good deeds, Pupagata Punyata, having done good deeds in the past. That has to be understood. Therefore, when one is practicing this sublime Dhamma, one is having a chance to practice the sublime Dhamma means you have good paramis, good perfections. Parami means the perfections, spiritual perfections as a result of past deeds. So it should be very encouraging. This will be continued tomorrow.